Okay, guys, this is going to be my review of Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I really like this movie. I mean, I don't really, but I did like it. And the thing about it is it doesn't really follow a main plot, and I always think it's like a character study in a way, and it's really kind of a weak, kind of like a day in a life of these kind of these characters in this kind of world leading up to these crazy, events. And obviously it's Quentin Tarantino, obviously changes history. But, the thing about it is just that it's like there is no real linear plot, but the thing is, because of Quentin Tarantino's great writing, great directing, and the magnificent performances, it's just like every single scene, whether it's important to the overall plot or not, or story or narrative, whatever, it just works. And I think that's what I enjoyed about it, was that I think it's like you have these scenes that are just innocent scenes that are just everyday life, but they're just so well written and so well acted and so well done that it's enjoyable, and it's so funny, I think, at times, but it's also very, clever, too. I think he's a very clever writer, too. And I think the thing is that these characters and their dynamic, particularly Rick and Cliff, the dynamic is so strong, and it's just great to see, and it's great to get kind of an insight to Hollywood at the time. But I will say, the thing with Sharon Tate is interesting because she really is not in it that much. She really, 90% of her screen time is at the movies, and then you got her dancing a bit, and then at the very, very end, she's in it. So I think it was one of those things where you could have cut her role a little bit down shorter, because she really didn't have much to do. And the thing about this film is it's interesting because, you really follow, a couple days of these characters, and then they do a big jump 6 months. And so that was kind of interesting to kind of see. But, again, like I said, it was just, I think that the interesting part was that, again, these scenes would be, 20 minutes long, but they were just so interesting. And again, like I said, you could have cut the stuff with Cliff driving, so or trim some other stuff down. So again, this film is not 2 hours and 40 minutes of definitely important stuff that needed to be in this movie. But I have to say, it was entertaining when you see Cliff in the car driving with the girl, driving her to the ranch, or at the ranch, or whether you have, Cliff and the girl acting together in their whole scenes, or with Al Pacino's scenes. It would be these 20-minute scenes, but they just were so well done, and they were so interesting to kind of get an insight. Again, like I said, as a film fan at Hollywood, kind of at that time. But again, like I said, there are definitely moments, definitely scenes that just didn't need to be there, and it hurt the pacing. Because the problem is not that it's a slow-paced film, which it is. The problem was just that there was stuff that when you got to the end of the film, it's a 2-hour, 40-minute film, there's destined to be some stuff to cut in the word. And so, whereas I feel like Django Unchained, I couldn't really, it's even longer than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I could find some stuff to cut. And I just didn't think that was the case with I couldn't think of something to cut in Django. But that wasn't the case in this film. And I think another thing is that I even question, the thing about Sharon Tate is, the whole interesting thing is, obviously what happened in real life with her. But what I think was interesting about her role was that you would have cut to Cliff and Rick, and then you'd all cut to Sharon doing her own thing, right? And I think the thing about this film is that if you didn't know the true story, Sharon Tate's role would have felt so weird. And I think that was the thing. That was the thing about it, right? Was they didn't do a good job of, I guess, maybe explaining the potential danger she was in. They didn't do a good job of really articulating the types of scenarios that could have been. And because World War II was so well known, and Hitler was well known, that when they killed Hitler, it was this big shock and awe moment. But the thing is that that wasn't really the case, right? We didn't really, I think a majority of the audience, there is a portion of the audience who didn't know, I guess, the true story, and that Sharon Tate was killed. I think that was in a way there was a problem with the filmmaking point of view, and yes, like you could say the script was that you would cut to these Sharon scenes that ended up being pointless because they didn't really do a good job in the film of really showing her role, because it would be she's watching her own movie and then she's, hanging out with her friends, but even then it wasn't like something that I could say, yeah, that's very important to the story. Yeah, that's very important to the film, because at the end of the day, they didn't really show her, again, like I said, in much harm, and I think this film just assumes that in real life she got killed, because I think once you know that, you're like, wow, they saved her life. But they didn't do a good job articulating the danger she was in, so then all her scenes felt pointless. And I think the point that he was trying to make, that Quentin was trying to make, was that Sharon was like this innocent or kind of soulful, girl in this kind of crazy world. And I think cutting to her was kind of just showing like what kind of, I don't know. I guess maybe this idea that she was kind of like the soul of the film, saying like her role was kind of meant to be like saying like like again, like I said, maybe just showing her and showing what she is, and to subvert your expectation. The whole point was to, as like a misdirect, everyone's waiting for that moment for her to get killed, but you don't know. And I think that was definitely an issue with the film, was that her role didn't seem necessary. But like I said, the scenes were so well made and so well done that even then I still enjoyed it, because again, like I said, they're just so well done. So anyway, stay tuned for more videos coming at you.